But then that again, like, that takes us back to our original, question.
It's a very, very much a political landscape.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people who are power gamers and will do whatever they can to max out their character. Yeah. And they see it as, some of them see it as competitive.
Yeah. They're munchkins.
Well, I think at least my experience playing with you guys, I've only had in all that time one player I think that felt that way, and I still enjoyed playing with that player. Yeah. But like I have played in the past with other players that I would never play with again. Oh God. But I think we've had a pretty good group, whoever we've played with.
I don't think we've had anyone so far that's been like awful to play with.
Right.
No, like, absolutely.
I think we've had great. Important. I think we've had great people.
Yeah. And I have played with some people who.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was fun.
You ever play with somebody who takes it way too serious?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I remember one player. I'm even going to use his name, Bob Heat.
He's a heap of shit.
Now, mind you, I've been working on a system, with your dad and stuff like that, playing around with it, stuff like that. But he dedicated his life to coming up with systems and stuff like that, and he would just.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. I mean, as long as you can afford to live that lifestyle, that's fine. But like, he spent every waking moment just developing systems. And,
that's dedication, but it's also a little crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's this one guy that we played with. And I won't use any names. I mean, the odds of him watching this are pretty minuscule.
Right. I've got 6 viewers.
Including me.
Growing up kind of sheltered and very... he kind of had that only child syndrome, even though he wasn't technically an only child. Mm-hmm. His parents kind of babied him, gave him what he wanted. Right. And so when he played... He had that same entitlement mentality.
Everyone.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah,
it's like he was like, you're not a rogue. Why are you trying to?
Right. Yeah. He was playing one class and tried to do everything other classes would do, just so he could be that's the hero.
You're not a rogue. Stop unlocking the door.
Yeah, and he would always push the boundaries of what he could do, and he would kind of act weird if I didn't yield to his demands. And I was like, and so we only ended up playing one game with him.
Yeah, that kind of killed that campaign.
I've had a player like that, not to that extreme, but all right. Well, here's a good point, and I don't know if you've ever experienced this. You probably haven't. I think you guys have played a lot of other different campaigns, especially you. I know the way you've talked about different ones, but like. I find that I've run or tried to play or run in Star Wars games. I've tried to play and run in GURPS games, but it always comes back to D&D for me personally. Like, I would love to play Vampire, the Masquerade. I'd love to play Werewolf. I would love to play Wraith or any of those games.
World of Darkness
but
series.
They only go so far for me, especially like Wraith. But like you take them so far, and you can only go so far with them. I think. Yeah. Vampire's a little different. GURPS, I think, is a little different too.
Well, it depends. It depends. Here's my analysis of it. Yeah. As someone who's DM'd a lot of World of Darkness campaign, they come. The boundaries in which you play are a little more well defined because there's so much lore, and they provide you with a lot of backstory and a lot of storytelling material, and obviously you don't have to stick to it, but there is this mythos that's been created, and people have expectations of what vampires are and how the campaign should go, and it does feel like there are some limitations. And a lot of them aren't worlds that you've created. They're worlds that either in the real world or that they've created for you. And it doesn't have to be that way, but that's generally how it is. And I don't really have a problem with it, but it's not for everyone. And D&D is a little more flexible in that regard. Like you can do so many different things with
it does have its own, established universe, but it's, so open faced.
It's World of Darkness is a niche game.
Yeah,
it is. It's very focused. Like with D&D, I can play a dwarven, barbarian. I can play an elven, ranger. I can play a halfling thief. I know I'm going on the typicals, but with like vampire or werewolf, it's like, A, I am a vampire. Or B, I am a werewolf.
You do not have a class. Well, you are just a werewolf.
And I know you can customize your character to a certain degree. But the theme of the game is going to stay consistent throughout.
It is horror. It is a different genre entirely.
You can have horror in D&D. You can have you can make a kind of what Alex is doing. Kind of you could have like a crime drama kind of in D&D. You can take a lot of the archetypes from westerns. You can take all these different genres.
You can just throw it in there.
Sci-fi, steampunk.
In fact, I have looked in the back of the DM manual for D&D 5th edition. I have found rifles, flintlocks, laser rifles, automatic rifles.
I haven't really looked at it too much.
You can do anything with D&D now.
Well, that's great, because with D20, I love D20, but like they would release it as fantasy, release it as modern, release it as future, release it as so on and so forth.
And again, that takes us back to that question about genre. Like, is genre a good thing or not? And I've always hated the concept of genre. Because I always find myself like once I adopt it, and I'm like this with music too. Like, I love metal, and there are so many little stupid subgenres in metal, and
new metal.
I know new metal, folk metal, black death metal.
I've never heard of folk metal.
Oh, you've never heard of folk metal? Oh, we should listen to some folk metal.
That's awesome shit. It's like Viking, like pagan
there's
metal.
Viking metal, a subset of pagan metal.
They use various ancient instruments.
Right.
I thought there was a lot of metal. In my day, there was thrash, speed, and death, pretty much. Like, that was your metal.
Yeah, there's stoner metal. That is very slow tempoed. There's doom metal. There's all kinds of
metal.
I mean, there's industrial, and even within these subgenres, there are even more subgenres.
And you have black metal, which is just
German thrash metal. Yeah.
German thrash metal.
Yeah. And so but getting back to the point, like the problem with genres is I like to, in anything, like whether it's a movie, a show, or whatever, I like it to judge it based on its own merits.
Yeah.
And if you put it within the context of a genre, I don't know. I don't think it's fruitful. I think it detracts.
You're doing a disservice to the product at hand. Well, not a disservice, but
it is what it is. I think people a lot of times will forsake their creative agency so that they do fit within the genre.
Yeah.
It's like there are people who like we talk about cop shows or crime dramas. So let's make sure that our show fits that archetype or that is close to it.
Another thing is zombies. Like, everyone has this idea that zombies have to be one thing.
Yeah.
They can't be something else entirely.
Exactly.
That was the hardest thing when I decided to, like, when we decided to stop the fantasy and do the zombie thing.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be in America, obviously, in Virginia and stuff like that. But it is tough. Like, it's like,
well,
a zombie campaign can only go so far.
Oh, I know that.
They're either slow and dumb or fast and, like, intelligent.
Well, I tried to fix that by having both and implementing the running type where infected, they're not dead yet.
Right.
The zombies are dead. They come back. But zombie apocalypse campaigns will go nowhere generally because there's nothing there.
Well, you have to kill the cliche. That's the thing. You're tempted. This is why I hate genres. You're tempted once you pick up like something like a zombie apocalypse
just roll with
campaign to start your story not with what that spark of creative energy, but you start it with what the expectation is. You say, okay, this is what a zombie apocalypse is. This is what a fantasy campaign. This is what sci-fi is. Let me make a Western or a sci-fi or a zombie apocalypse story rather than saying, okay, I'm going to make a story with zombies. And then to just go from there.
Right.
I don't know. I think it works better that way.
I agree.
At least that's what I found.
And that is definitely what happened in my campaign with the Walking Dead type campaign. I found that's definitely what happened there. And although the thing is, like, I think that campaign was extremely important because I learned a lot from it as a DM.
As long as you learn, that's all that really matters.
And I think that's a big deal because if you don't learn, where you didn't do so well in a campaign, it doesn't really matter, but, it helps make the next campaign better.
Well, I mean, me too. Like, that zombie apocalypse campaign, I learned a lot of things. I learned that, like, that's why I ended up pulling in so many elements from, and you may have noticed or not noticed, the Stephen King stuff.
I like the Stephen King stuff.
Like, it just made sense as it went along, so it evolved, and I think it could have turned out to been a pretty good game, but, like, I think it was nice ending point to just start something new and not run for a while.
And I think a lot of times what happens, and I know this has happened with me, and I've seen it in others as well, you start with an idea. You think, okay, I want to make a story about a zombie apocalypse, where you should be thinking, here's my story, where should I set it? Taking it from... I think a lot of people put the cart before the horse, because what I think the tendency is for the atmosphere, the setting, is for the setting to carry the plot rather than the plot actually carrying the setting. And I think honestly, like I love H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
But I think H.P. Lovecraft, as a writer, falls into that pitfall because he's got this, the Cthulhu mythos, and he's really good at setting a mood, at setting atmosphere. But if you really look at his characters and his plots, they're not as strong.
Right.
And H.P. Lovecraft's regarded as a great writer, and I think he should be. I love H.P. Lovecraft, but that is kind of a chink in his armor. I think is a lot of his stories rely too heavily on the setting and the overarching concept
the doom
to carry the story, rather than actually creating an original, interesting story within this context.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen In the Mouth of Madness?
The
movie?
The movie? No, I haven't seen the movie.
You should watch that. It's very interesting. It's about for the love of Jesus Christ, come in. What do you want?
What do you want?
We're doing a very important.
In the Mouth of Madness is about an author who outsells the Bible. And the book that he writes about, I think, is kind of that whole H.P. Lovecraft kind of mythology in a sense, or not mythology, but I don't know what the term I'm looking for is.
Mythos.
And mythos, yeah. And so this, I can't remember if it's an agent or another writer goes to a guy goes to interview the author of this book.
Yeah.
And when him and his person he's bringing with him get to this town, they can't get out, but B, it's all kinds of fucked up. Like, you'd like it. I think it's right up your alley. You should definitely watch it. And it's all monsters and like, basically it's saying that like the more people who believe in something, the majority becomes a reality.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I think we have a friend that would agree.
yeah.
Christopher Robinson, I'm sure.
Christopher Robinson. I've only met him once.
He's a great guy.
Yeah. Next time he's in town, we gotta hang out. Because
we're always talking back and forth on Facebook.
He's a big World of Darkness fan.
Is he?
Oh yeah, he used to get this. He used to live in Michigan.
Okay.
And there's this goth club called what was it called? Do you remember the name?
I have no idea.
It's in Detroit. And he used to go to this
where the
goth
best ones are.
club in Detroit and play Vampire the Masquerade in the club.
Wow.
And they would be dressed up and everything.